I wanted to follow through with and inform people about making a complaint in respect of my surgery at Guy's. Just to recap, in 2018 I had what should have been a fairly routine caudal septoplasty if it was performed by a technically competent surgeon, and that left me looking like this. And then in 2019 I obviously had to have a revision, but it didn't correct the damage that had been done fully correct the damage that had been done during the first operation. In 2020 I had a cauterization of just to try and stop the minimal bleeding that was constantly happening since 2018. It didn't address that because of the amount of scar tissue that was up in that side of my nose, that nostril on the left. So then I was told in May last year that the head of department would no longer treat me. He was very excited and rang me and said he didn't want to treat me anymore. That was during the complaint process that I had gone into, where I started off with the complaints process at Guy's, which is very biased, which I wasn't aware of. I thought it would be fair, perhaps naive of me to think so, but it was extremely biased, to the extent that they didn't even send me out to an independent person just to have a look at what had happened. They just took all the evidence from the head of department, i.e. Mr. Roberts, who had actually commissioned the trainee to operate on me in the first place, wouldn't have welshed on his colleague, and they took all his evidence, believed Mr. Roberts and disbelieved me. So that's a very easy way to treat a complaint, but it's extremely biased, extremely unjust and very unfair. So in the December of last year, there was a meeting with some of the top people, top level surgeon, I think Mr. Skilbeck, who was a very good oncologist at Guy's, a couple of other administrative staff, who all the time would not admit to the fact that Mr. Roberts had become overexcited, rung me at home and said he wouldn't treat me. But they kept saying about how there was something they didn't like. I believe they quoted something on social media where I asked them for the evidence, to provide the evidence, but none was provided. That is the biased attitude of the people that you're dealing with if you complain against a hospital. I'm sure that's not isolated to Guy's. I'm sure it is endemic everywhere. They then sent me, Mr. Skilbeck sent a referral letter to the Charing Cross Hospital, which actually is out of my area. I don't think I would have been treated by them initially at all. I wouldn't have even had the option. But I went to see a Professor Hashem Sali is in charge of the department. I've never seen him for a full appointment. He has come in a couple of times and had a look at what's going on with me. And 2 weeks ago, I had an operation to remove the still bleeding scar tissue that had been left up my nose since 2018. That was, I believe, successfully removed. Unfortunately, though, due to the absolute ham-fistedness of the first surgeon, Miss Fiona Ting, she has actually also taken bone away. So they've actually corrected the scar tissue now, which is amazing, because we are now only 3 years later, they've actually corrected that thing that happened. 3 years later. It's taken them 3 years. I just can't believe it. Just because they wouldn't acknowledge the fact that they've made a mistake. They've left a patient in real discomfort. Unfortunately, because the scar tissue was removed, they can't do anything about the bone reconstitution. Whereas if you broke a bone anywhere else in your body, no doubt the bone would try to reconstitute. Round your nose and those small bones, and it doesn't reconstitute. So the air now that has been now released and I can take in the air, is now hitting the back of my throat and causing a lot of catarrh to form there, especially at night. It totally blocks again, and the frustrating thing is it is now not the scar tissue, it is just the fact that there's a rawness due to the fact that so much bone has been taken away. The air passes through too coldly, and it obviously isn't warmed, and it's producing a lot of catarrh there, which is blocking the nose. I'm hoping that, despite this, I've soldiered on through this, something will be done. What I wanted to say was, with regard to the complaint, if I was myself back in 2018 and that awful, horrible person had operated on me, I wouldn't have allowed it to happen in the first place. That was my first ever full-scale operation with a general anaesthetic, and I was prepared for the surgeon to do it, head of department, Mr. Roberts. That's what it said in the letter. I didn't get him. I got a very weird woman who was very full of herself and overconfident, and I should have just walked out there and then. However, the complaints process at Guy's is totally shot, biased in favour of the surgeon. And the only thing I can say is, just if you do have cause to complain, ask for a referral straight away. The complaints process in the current NHS will be constantly biased on the part of the surgeons, because the duty of candour doesn't exist. It should do, but it doesn't. What you need to do is get a referral to another equally good consultant, or a department that is controlled by a good consultant, and then start afresh there. I hope that's informed everybody of what it is to complain to the NHS currently. Obviously, during the pandemic, they were marvellous, and I want to say now that I've never met any of the nursing staff in either Guy's or Charing Cross Hospital that have been anything other than very, very good. It's just you get a few rotten apples in the barrel, and unfortunately I got them, and that was my whole path of complaint. Thank you for watching, I really appreciate it.